Welcome to my channel Karma Romance Stories. Please like, subscribe for more videos.
Have you ever trusted someone for years only to discover they had been planning your downfall? I never imagined my marriage would end on the happiest day of my son's life. The morning of his 18th birthday, my wife handed me divorce papers with a smile and whispered perfect timing. I thought the worst moment of my life had arrived. I had no idea my son had been quietly collecting the truth for 3 years. What happened inside that courtroom left everyone speechless. Stay until the end because every single detail matters. The morning started with balloons, decorations, and a birthday cake. My son had just turned 18 and I wanted the day to be about him. Friends and relatives gathered around laughing while I prepared the barbecue in the backyard. My wife walked toward me holding a white envelope. I assumed it was another birthday card for our son. Instead, she placed it in my hand and quietly said, "These are divorce papers. Happy birthday to your son." Perfect timing. For a moment I could not even breathe. My hands shook as I looked at the documents. The signatures were already there. She had planned everything long before that day. I looked across the yard at my son smiling with his friends. I refused to ruin his birthday, so I folded the papers, put them into my pocket, and forced myself to smile for the rest of the evening. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in the living room. My wife packed a suitcase without saying a single word. Before leaving, she turned around and said, "You will lose everything. The house, the savings, and even your son's respect." Then she closed the door behind her. The weeks that followed were filled with meetings, lawyers, and paperwork. I learned she had already moved money into separate accounts. She claimed I had neglected the family and controlled every financial decision. None of it was true, but proving the truth would be difficult. My son stayed quiet through all of it. He never picked sides. Whenever I asked if he was all right, he simply nodded and said everything will make sense one day. I assumed he was trying to stay out of the conflict. I had no idea he was carrying a secret bigger than either of us imagined. Months later, the final hearing arrived. The courtroom felt cold and silent. My wife appeared confident. She smiled at her attorney and occasionally looked toward me with complete satisfaction. She believed the outcome was already decided. The judge reviewed documents, listened to both attorneys, and prepared to finish the hearing. Then something unexpected happened. My son stood up and politely asked if he could speak. The courtroom became silent. The judge looked surprised but allowed him a few minutes. My son walked to the front carrying a small recording device. He looked directly at his mother and quietly said, "I have been recording our private conversations for 3 years because I was afraid nobody would believe me." My wife immediately stood up and shouted that he was lying. Her attorney objected. The judge asked everyone to remain calm. My son pressed play. The first recording revealed my wife laughing with a friend about waiting until our son turned 18 before filing for divorce so she could maximize her financial advantage. Another recording captured her discussing ways to make false accusations during court proceedings. The next recording revealed conversations about hiding money before filing legal documents. Every recording was dated and organized. The courtroom became completely silent. The judge listened carefully without interrupting. My wife suddenly grabbed her bag and rushed toward the courtroom exit. Before she reached the door, the bailiff calmly stopped her and asked her to return to her seat. She slowly walked back, looking completely different from the confident person who had entered the courtroom earlier. The judge requested copies of every recording along with supporting evidence. My son's careful organization included dates, written notes, and backup files. Everything matched the timeline presented in court. Her attorney quietly leaned over and whispered something to her. She lowered her head and said nothing. The judge announced that the evidence required further review and postponed the final decision. Over the following weeks, investigators examined financial records, phone messages, and bank transactions. Many of the statements made during the recordings matched official documents. The truth slowly replaced every false accusation. When the hearing resumed, the atmosphere had completely changed. This time, my wife avoided looking at anyone. The judge explained that honesty is the foundation of every courtroom and attempts to manipulate legal proceedings carry serious consequences. Many of her claims were rejected after reviewing the evidence. Financial decisions were adjusted according to verified records rather than false statements. When everything ended, I walked outside with my son. For the first time in months, I felt the weight lifting from my shoulders. I asked him why he never told me about the recordings. He smiled and said, "Because I wanted the truth to speak louder than anger." Those words stayed with me forever. Justice did not arrive because someone shouted the loudest. Justice arrived because someone protected the truth with patience. My marriage ended. My family changed forever. But my son reminded me that integrity is worth more than revenge. Sometimes the greatest strength is staying calm until the truth has the opportunity to be heard. Life has a way of testing honest people. Lies may move quickly, but truth never stops moving. That courtroom taught me one lesson I will never forget. Character is revealed when nobody believes you, and courage is choosing truth even when it takes years. If this story reminded you that honesty always matters, then remember this. Never underestimate the quiet person who keeps records instead of arguments.